The TOEIC test, or the test of English for International Communication, will be updated in June of 2018. The last time this 2-hour test was updated was back in 2007. A lot of you are familiar with that test. So we've got a few changes coming up, and we want to do a quick overview of what you need to expect. First off, the test is basically the same as far as vocabulary and grammar structures and, the basic business situations that are used during the test. So all your preparation materials for the old test, the test from 2007, can be used for this new test. So it's not a huge difference in test, just a few little format changes. You will need to replace your practice test, however, and we'll talk about that at the end of the slideshow. First of all, there's not going to be any changes in the number of questions, still 200. No changes in the combined score, which is 10 to 990. Supposedly, there's no changes in the difficulty. I've pointed out a few places where I think the changes have made it a bit more difficult, but ETS, the testing organization, says that the difficulty is the same. And also the overall length, which is 2 grueling hours. So that's the same. Now, if we start off with the listening part 1, the changes that you're going to see, I'm sure you're familiar with this part. We've got the photograph and then the 4 statements that best describe the photograph. The 2007 test had 10 photos, and now they have reduced it to 6. The test before 2007, I believe, had 20 photos. So this is definitely the easiest part of the test, and the reduction in photos will hurt the lower levels. Listening part 2, this could be a difficult part of the test for some test takers because the student just listens to the question, and then the question or a statement, and then he must decide on the best response. So he listens to 3 responses. And there's no support. There's nothing written for him. You've just got your answer sheet in front of you, and you just go through the questions. So it's very easy to lose your place here, difficult to stay concentrated. They have reduced the number of these questions from 30 down to 25. So I think that's a good thing for most test takers in general, because this was long, and you get a neck ache keeping your head down focused on your answer sheet. So this is a good thing. Part number 3. Now, this is where the students listen to a conversation and then answer 3 questions concerning that conversation. It's more difficult now. They've increased the number of conversations. So we've got 13 total now. And they've also increased the number of people involved in the conversation, the number of participants. So it could be as many as 3. And they're still using accents from the US, Great Britain, Canada, and Australia. But you've got to keep up. The test takers will have a little bit more difficulty because they're shorter sentences, more exchanges, because there's more people involved in the conversation. Another new addition is that the TOEIC is trying to be more current with the way we speak instead of so, scholarly. And they're including gonna, wanna. So some of the test takers who prepare for the test with TV series will like this. There'll be questions with implied meaning in the conversation. So that more advanced students will really like that because they can kind of, read between the lines, listen between the lines, and pick up on these implied meanings. And then the last change is for the 3 questions per conversation, there can be a small graphic. So you've got a table of data that you've got to compare and with what you're hearing during the conversation. So that's definitely increasing the difficulty. Listening part 4. Now these are short talks compared to the conversations in part 3. And these talks, they can be an radio advertisement or an announcement at a training session. It varies. And we're also including the 3 questions per talk with that little graphic. And there will also be implied meaning of the talk. So, we're increasing the difficulty in the listening, I believe. Now we're going to move on to the reading section. Reading part 5. These are the famous fill-in-the-blank grammar questions. And in the older version, in 2007, they had 40 grammar questions. And it ranged from linking words, pronouns, word families. So for some students who are stronger in listening skills than grammar, they hated this section. So those grammar haters will be happy to see the number of questions reduced to 30. Reading part 6. Now, this is where, it's still fill in the blank with grammar and vocabulary, but it's in a context. So it's in a text. They've increased the number of texts by 4. So there's 16 texts with 3 or 4 questions for each text. I think, when we have to choose grammar or vocabulary, it's always easier in a context, in a paragraph or short text, than these, one-line questions. So I'm happy to see that they've increased the number of questions in context. So here's our final reading part 7, and this part is pure reading comprehension. So a lot of students who can read quickly, they can do well in this part of the test. I sometimes even advise my students to start with part 7, because the answers are there. It's just reading comprehension. It's not guessing at grammar or vocabulary. So they have increased the number of questions by 5, so that's a good thing. Reducing the pure grammar and increasing the reading comprehension. Now, there could be as many as 3 different documents that the test takers have to read before answering 3 questions. It's still pretty heavy duty and difficult, but if you like reading comprehension, you'll be happy to know you've got 5 more questions. As I said earlier, it will be important for you as teachers, as preparation teachers, to pick up some new practice tests. And they're really hard to find. I was looking mainly on Amazon, and then of course on the ETS website, the company that produces the TOEIC test. I did find 3 different books. Here's the first one. It's called the TOEIC Primer, and I was not able to flip through it. It says it has updated tests. I noticed the publication date was 2017, but on the cover it has 2018 and 2019. So I'm really hoping that these are really updated tests, and I hope it's the good book for you guys. Here's the next book I found. This is referenced as official from the ETS website. The publication company is Hachette, which is French. So this book is in French, but it's just it's just sample tests, practice tests. So, if you read French or not, it really doesn't matter. And this book has 2 of the older version practice tests and then 2 of the newer version. So I'm positive that this will be a good book to pick up. It's got the answers. So, this is a good book if you don't mind that the language is French. And then the last book I found is Barron's TOEIC Preparation. I've used Barron's before, and in their preparation books, they were a little bit dry. But these are practice tests, and it will be in English. And they have promised that these tests are updated. I was not able to flip through this book on Amazon. All three of these books run around, $30, 30 euros. But you need to jump on that and get those ordered. So if you feel like you need more information, you can go to my website, businessenglishallure.com, and you can read the full blog post with all the details. And I've also got links to all the official documents that ETS provides. They've got the official guide, test taker's guide, and there's also a mini sample test, which is a really short version. Unfortunately, there's no audio, just the tape scripts. But you might, just give it a try and see if you notice a big difference in gonna and wanna and implied meanings. There's also in this blog post, there's some dates coming up for workshops to explain the new updates, and you can find those dates on my website as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you sign up for my newsletter, and we'll see you on the website.